All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our session today. We are Next Text during Next Text month of AI. Excited to be able to here to present. Today, this presentation is called "The Impact of Artificial Intelligence: Evidence from Indiana's AI Survey Report." So, really glad that folks have taken the time to join us here live. I can see the list of attendees, so thank you for being here. And if you're checking out the recording, appreciate your time as well. So, would love to have everybody introduce themselves in the chat. And so, if you would like to tell us who you are and where you're coming from, invite you to do so. Also, want to invite everybody to share maybe the last task that you had AI support. I know for myself, it's always helpful to see the different various use cases that people use AI for, kind of spur some ideas sometimes. So it could be school related or something that you're doing on your own time. All right. So maybe we might have a problem with the chat. Not quite seeing those right now, but thank you anyway for folks that are here today. Um, just to introduce myself, my name is Matt White. I am one of the digital learning specialists with the Indiana Department of Education. The rest of the digital learning team is here as well. Alicia Four, one of the digital learning specialists, and Kamala Collier, our virtual learning specialist. So, just a quick look through the agenda. We're going to kind of talk about some guiding pillars as it relates to AI. We're going to could kind of do an overview of the digital learning grants. Then we'll talk about the survey data and some examples from that, and then kind of finish with some continued support. So way back in 2023, which on the generative AI timeline seems a very long time ago, our digital learning team at IDOE established four guiding pillars to related to AI support, and we continue to organize our work around these. So messaging is the first pillar. Indiana was one of the first 10 states to release guidance related to AI in April of 2024. And then this guidance was updated in October of 2025. And second, AI literacy is, part of our AI guidance to him. Part of our AI guidance, but it's really important enough that it gets its own pillar. It's important for educators and students, and of course really all of the people on the planet to understand some of the basics on how AI works and how to use it and then how to evaluate what it produces. Access here, you can see, involves leveraging funding to make sure educators and students do have the opportunity to build AI literacy skills. And then finally, our fourth pillar, data and research reporting. That's what you are here for today. So we really want to continue to be transparent about our efforts. And the AI Educator Survey final report is part of that. So today we'll be walking through this report, which includes educator survey data from schools working on AI initiatives through the Digital Learning Grant from the previous school year. So I'm going to go ahead and try to drop a link here in the chat, and hopefully everybody can get that, can take a look at that. And what I actually wanted to do here was actually kind of be quiet for a moment and let everybody have a chance to get into that. If you're not able to get into the link, if you go to the Indiana Learning Lab and just search AI Educator Survey Report, you'll be able to access that document as well. So I'm going to try to be quiet for a full minute here. I know that's going to feel like a long time, and give everybody a chance to peek through this report. So I know there's a lot there for folks to take a look at. We're going to kind of walk through some of the key pieces. So just a bit of grant background information. There were 53 school corporations that applied for and received the digital learning grants for AI related initiatives. And I also want to note there are some other recipients of the grants that did focus on other priorities. So these AI initiatives impacted almost 9,000 teachers and over 95,000 students, and the grant funding was provided through the David C. Ford Educational Technology Fund. And if you weren't able to access the report, I'm seeing that it was posted, but in the Q&A. So if you haven't found it in the Learning Lab and want to check there, that might be a place where you can grab that link. So to assist schools with selecting AI vendors, IDOE provided a list of vendor requirements. And these requirements included lots of things. They included training for educators, safety and security measures, data components, and more, all of those things that are really important and necessary for quality implementations. And any vendors that schools chose had to meet those requirements. So these are the seven vendors that schools chose. And again, just emphasizing that the schools were the ones that selected the vendors. These are the ones that schools chose that met those vendor requirements. So we're going to dive here into the survey data and see what educators across Indiana reported. So the survey was open to all participating educators, and we received 2,096 responses. Each survey included both closed and open-ended questions, and it took place at the end of the previous school year. So we asked educators to indicate their attitude toward AI before using it as part of the grant. And you can see here that the plurality was actually neutral, with the negative leaning and positive leaning responses being about equal. So fast forward here to the end of the grant, and we can really see a significant change when teachers rated their attitudes toward AI after using it during the grant cycle. The somewhat positive and very positive, which were previously at 25%, were now at 69%. And we can see this stark difference when we look at these charts side by side. And we can also see that the somewhat negative and very negative responses, which were 28%, had shrunk to 9% after the grant. So next here, the survey looks at the types of tasks that teachers use AI platforms for. So, as you look here, keep in mind that the total number of respondents to the survey was 2,096. And you can see here that support for lesson plans and ideas, and then differentiation strategies were the top two use cases, with rubric and assessment creation not far behind. We also saw over a quarter of the respondents using the AI platform to build their own subject knowledge, to write discussion questions, to provide feedback, and to support email communication. So, um, can think through and again, I don't think we've got access to the chat right now, but if there are some of these same things that you are doing, right, what kind of thinking through, what things are you doing, what things haven't you experienced, this can be helpful here. So the next section of the report and the survey asked teachers about the impact of the AI platform on their teaching practice. So kind of zooming in here a bit, you can see that 72% of the teachers who reported using the grant-funded AI platforms rated that overall impact on their teaching practice in the moderate, significant, or very significant categories. So, and then you can see 20% indicating slight impact and 8% with no impact. Teachers were then asked to explain their answer to this question in one of the open-ended responses. And we're going to take kind of a brief look at each of the top 6 responses here. So the top response was about the ability for AI to save time, right? And this was time that teachers reported that they could often use for more important tasks, including building connections with students and improving their educational content. Throughout the AI report, the way that it's set up, we really feature a lot of quotes that correspond to each of these top responses in this section and then in the next section of the report. So, one quote that represents here, as far as the saving time response, what many educators indicated was from a middle school teacher who wrote, "The overall impact on my teaching practice hasn't been about a fundamental shift in how I teach, but rather it has been significant in freeing up crucial time that now allows me to focus more intentionally on the aspects of my practice that truly matter." Next, the ability to generate content and ideas was the next most commonly cited way that the AI platforms were impacting the teaching practice. So, teachers mentioned leveraging AI for creation in various ways. Some of those were developing lesson plans, developing rubrics, depth of knowledge questions, and curriculum maps, among a plethora of different content items. Throughout the cycle of the grant, our team was really able to connect with a lot of schools and teachers who were using these tools. We were lucky enough to receive lots of invitations to come in and experience how the grant implementation was going. So, at Franklin Central High School, the resource room teacher there used an AI platform to create content that was related to student interests. So, one example that she talked about was the potential to take content such as a lesson on making inferences, right? And then produce examples that are related to topics that students, might enjoy reading about. So her examples were basketball and hip hop music. Educators also shared that the AI tools were useful for assessing student learning and producing insights that helped inform future instruction. So, some AI platforms were used to assist educators in providing timely, actionable feedback to students. There's a couple quotes that are featured here that kind of provides a sampling of how some teachers use the AI platform to help make data informed decisions. So I'll give everybody just a chance to read those. So finally, teachers use the AI tools to differentiate content for students, and we've got more on that to come. Teachers also reported using the AI platforms to engage and motivate students, as well as using AI for revising and composing emails and strengthening parent and teacher communication. So next, the educators were asked to rate the impact of the use on of the platform on student learning, right? So the previous section, the impact on the teaching practice, the section on the impact on student learning. So again, we'll kind of zoom in here to see that 66% of teachers who reported using these grant-funded AI platforms rated the overall impact on student learning as positive or very positive. You can see 52% positive and 13% very positive. And then the majority of the remaining responses reported this as unchanged. So again, there was an open-ended question that was posed here, and we're going to walk through a few of the common responses. I do should mention again, we like I said, the chat might not be working, but the Q&A appears to be. So if you do have questions as we're going through this, can feel free to add those there. We might have a chance to stop during, but we'll definitely have a chance to address some of those questions at the end of the presentation. So just wanted to invite folks to do that if you are interested. So here we had the most commonly, most frequently cited positive impact on student learning was related to platforms' abilities to provide tutoring and feedback. So in this section, in this response, teachers discussed the value of the the platform to tutor and guide students to really kind of improve their work and help them get to answers without just providing those answers outright. AI tutors here were sometimes a source that students could use when the teacher wasn't available in the room, right? This, of course, helps to avoid the line at the teacher's desk that many of us have probably all had before. And then students were also able to use these platforms to study for upcoming assessments. At Guilford Elementary School, which is in Plainfield Community Schools, fifth graders there were able to use the AI tools for feedback. The teacher in this room had set up student tools to provide feedback for students on written pieces that they had already completed writing. So students here might be working to revise the organization of their writing, right? Maybe when it comes to ideas and revisions for writing a lead or using transitions or ideas for concluding sentences. And I did just kind of want to highlight one student in particular when we were there that told me that she thinks the tutor is making her a better writer. And she talked about how previously the AI tutor kept telling her to add supporting details to her writing. And so now she says that she just tries to do that right from the start. Next, teachers indicated that students in general enjoyed their work on the AI platforms. The teachers reported increased engagement and higher motivation when students were using the platforms. Teachers indicated that when the AI tools improved something, something that they built or something they created, the students benefited from this improved educational content, right? So, of course, time saving, which we mentioned earlier, is related to this as teachers indicated that time saved on certain teacher tasks allowed them the opportunity to spend more time on more important work, which provided students with a better learning experience. And so another two quotes here. These two quotes are from a couple of high school teachers that are featured here, and they really kind of illuminate how many teachers felt that the AI platform helped them to do their job more effectively, right? Or create something better or provide some sort of better content, which ultimately benefited the students. So give everybody a chance to take a look at those. Next year, we have differentiation and personalization of learning, which, of course, those have different focuses, but they're grouped here together because they're related, and they were often grouped together in survey responses. So, teachers stated that materials were able to be adjusted to meet the needs of individual students, and then teachers also commented that this helped them support students with disabilities, students who were learning English, and then high ability students also. Melissa Higgison, who is a high school chemistry teacher at the school city of Hobart, she talked about how she uses AI in this video to differentiate in her classroom.
Specifically in my science classroom, I use Tutor Me Math and Science, and I like this because it expands the reach of me, and it often provides an entry point for students who are struggling or begin to make progress. So one of the things that I've done is I've moved my bell ringers and exit tickets over a lot of times into the assignable Conmigo. And this is because it gives students, if they don't know where to start, and I am not standing next to them, or they're a quiet student and I'm not there with them, it gives them a place to start. They can also go to the tutoring themselves, and it's really empowering, and it's been really nice for me to see my students go to that tutoring to get help and support on homework assignments. It also will offer them some enrichment opportunities. The thing that I really like about it is AI is going to be around forever. So it's going to foster that future readiness, and it helps students build confidence instead of just feeling helpless. And it also develops some problem solving skills that are going to be essential for them in the workplace.
So if you would like to hear, more from Melissa or from quite a few other teachers who've shared their experiences, you can check out our AI in the Classroom Spotlight series, which is available on demand in the Indiana Learning Lab. I've dropped a link for that in the chat. I think there's 17 sessions from a variety of different teachers and different grade levels, kind of talking about their experiences and how they've used AI tools to support their own teacher tasks or to support student learning. Finally, here some educators observed academic growth and improvement among students who engaged with the platforms, and then teachers reported an increase in the levels of student independence and confidence. So, as with all implementations of educational technology, right, there were some challenges that the educators encountered. So, we'll kind of walk through. Excuse me, we'll walk through some of these. Some educators did express concern about the potential for both teachers and students to become over reliant on AI and what the possible consequences associated with this would be. So I think really that everybody in the world, right, not just educators here are thinking about AI and over reliance and really making sure that we're using AI to amplify, right, rather than replace student thinking. And I think that across the state, we've seen educators really making those decisions carefully. Several users expressed that both students and teachers did face obstacles when interacting with the platforms, right, which led to some difficulty navigating those platforms at times. Third, some teachers stated that they believed that the AI platforms were not really applicable to their subject areas or grade levels. Some of these were teachers who taught advanced mathematics, fine art, and physical education. And then finally, time was a factor for educators. So some educators indicated that competing priorities prevented them from implementing the platform in the way that they had wanted to. So putting this report together and really reflecting on the teacher data is definitely informing the future work of our digital learning team. So kind of wanted to talk about some next steps here. The project that's being discussed here today was funded by last year's digital learning grant, and then the current school year's digital learning grant is happening as we speak. And then next year's digital learning grant is in the review process right now. So we're continuing to support, planning to continue to support this work, right? Both for projects that are using AI to reach outcomes, and then projects that use other technologies as well. The data in the report show that 64% of educators reported attending a training session by the vendor. So while over half of those who didn't attend that type of vendor session did report having access to PD on AI through their school, IDOE and our digital learning team is still committed to increasing access to AI training. So we're now requiring a more specific commitment from future grantees, and are also connecting with vendors about current training opportunities. The data also show that educators identify time saving as the most significant benefit to their teaching practice. And while productivity is absolutely a meaningful benefit of AI, the potential for teachers to differentiate content and personalize learning and make data-driven decisions, right, that really holds great value. So our team remains committed to highlighting real examples of educators using AI to innovate in their classrooms. And then finally here you can see the student voices, and data shows that educators report that the support for student tutoring and feedback is making the largest impact on student learning. And so, one of our next steps here is really to attempt to amplify some student voices who will be able to speak to their experiences with AI in classrooms. So there's a lot more in this report that we won't be diving into today. You can get really a breakdown on the number of school corporations and teachers and students that were using each platform. And then there's more information about training and the perceived effectiveness of that. And there's many more, excuse me, many more teacher voices that are represented in the various quotes throughout the report. And then you can also see the reported impact on teaching practice and student learning broken down by vendor. So again, that link's in the chat, I think now, but also available in the Indiana Learning Lab. What else is in the Learning Lab? There are lots of other resources that are related to AI. I think we were counting the other day, and we're up over 70 different recorded workshops and sessions that have related to AI and AI literacy. Um, some of those are Nextech. We're here today with Nextech. So they did a kind of an early series, the first AI related series in the lab, where they did some excuse me, AI 101 type of sessions. We also held a big series called AI Insights for Educators. And in this series, it really featured some researchers and authors and experts in the AI space. They went into a variety of topics, safety and security topics, how we might demystify AI for folks that are new to that, all of those types of topics. So those are all available to watch on demand in the Learning Lab. We also have an artificial intelligence guidance for parents and families. And this is done in the form of some short videos. All of these videos are 2 to 3 minutes, and they're just on some key AI topics, right? You can see 4 of them there. What is AI? AI literacy, right? AI security is among those. And so if you feel like sharing those with your community would be helpful, we invite you to do so. And then the Spotlight series that I mentioned is available as well. And we continue to plan additional resources and professional development related to the topic. So be sure to check that live Learning Lab calendar again, and all of those are also available on demand. So want to thank everybody for being here today. I know we're going to kind of open things up for questions and answers. We do have our email there on the screen if there's something that you don't feel like asking here but want to ask in an email, whether it's AI related or anything digital learning related, digitallearning@doe.in.gov. And so questions can be for me, but we also have Jenna here from Nextech who will be able to answer some questions as well. So really appreciate everybody being here.